Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. We are having a look at the Stormer AD, which is on the dev server for the Dance of Dragons update. This is a new AA vehicle that is coming in for Britain, and the cool things about this vehicle is that it gives the 10-0 lineup for Britain a AA again, after they moved up the Stormer, and also it gives a different option to the Stormer as well. The Stormer HVM is one of those vehicles which is hated by many. I am one of them, because basically with the Starstreak missile, you have to hit the target since it is a kinetic kind of missile. So it doesn't have a variable time fuse or anything. You are literally firing metal rods at something, as you can see here. So they have to hit the target. When you don't have very good ping and you play War Thunder, what happens a lot of the time is these rods will just go straight through the target and you won't be able to hit it. Or if the other person doesn't have good ping, the same thing happens. That's why when usually people talk about the Starstreak being good, it's actually a great idea to ask them how their ping is, because this is one of those vehicles that has a very high skill ceiling, but it's based on where you live instead of the vehicle itself. So the Stormer AD gives a much more standard experience compared to the HVM, which will mean it will be a lot nicer to use and easier to use as an AA platform. They're both based on the same chassis, so it has the 250 horsepower engine, it has the transmission, which means it can motor forwards and backwards, which is really cool, and then you have some of the updated kind of X-ray parts, so it will be a lot easier to knock out than other ones. You have the electronic equipment here, the FCS, and then also these setups here. But the vehicle itself, the major difference between it isn't, of course, the chassis. It is the weaponry. This vehicle has access to a 25mm GAU-12U cannon. This is a rotary cannon, which you can see here, and it holds all of the ammunition down here in the hull of the vehicle. It has 500 rounds, which has a pretty good RPM on the gun as well, but you'll be able to make those 500 rounds work for you, since you do have a search radar, and also you have a tracking radar, or a tracker to it, so you can, hold on to hitting the enemy. Then you also have the two-plane stabilizer on it, which is quite nice too. The 25mm have access to SAP HEI and also HVAP, and can pen up to 66mm, and this is where this thing could get a bit spicy. So you can get the rounds to be mostly HVAP, and that means that you can penetrate a lot of MBTs from the side, which will be kind of nuts. Like if you have a look at a lot of MBTs at high tiers, so let's say like the Abrams, for example, which is around this BR, they don't actually have a lot of armor on the sides or the back of them. So you've got this 6.35mm plate, and then you have 30mm on the side. So on the booty, you literally have 30mm, and then, on the back of the turret, you have 12.7mm, which is just kind of sat there, and then, straight to the ammo, which is there. So with a vehicle like this Stormer, you can use the 25mm with the HVAP to be able to penetrate a lot of those guys, which is pretty nuts. The other part of the weaponry that's really important, though, which is why it's such a high BR, is this right here. It has access to the FIM-92 Stinger. This is an IR-guided missile. It's an all-aspect Seeker IR-guided one, and it comes in two forms for the vehicle. So you have to unlock the FIM-92K, which is the better version. The difference between them is the FIM-92K has a proximity fuse on it, so you can see there it says that it has kind of like a distance that it will blow up on, a trigger radius of 1 meter, whereas the standard E doesn't. It only has the fuse delay. So what that means is with the E you have to hit the vehicle, whereas with the FIM-92K you don't have to hit the vehicle, which makes it so much better, especially once again because of the ping stuff and also others. It does get thermals, which is really nice for the vehicle, and all of that good stuff. So one of the things that's also slightly different is you can see the gunner optics here. It has the ADAD for the track IRST for the Stormer HVM. This means that you can track targets and they can't tell that you're tracking them. And then you have the search IRST here for the radar, Whereas this AD, it has the ADAD-TA, which is the Surge IRST, but in a different mounting. And also, when it comes to the optics, it doesn't actually say if it's going to have the track with it as well. My guess is it will, because, you know, it should technically be the same system, but we'll have to see what they decide to do in terms of this vehicle. So the simple fact is, with this one, if you run it properly with the correct stuff, I would probably go for more HE than the HVAP, but I just kind of want to show you what the HVAP can do, since, you know, it's one of those things that's kind of unique for the vehicle. And also we can show some of the other mechanics that this vehicle has access to. You can see here that it has the thermals, and then it also has the lock, so that it is there. You can see here that it's trying its best. But there you go. So it does have the lock, which is quite nice. And then obviously, you know, you have the good missiles with the proximity, so you'll be able to do some damage. Thank you, Stingers, for proving once again why you annoy me, especially on the Ocelot. But you can see with the gun, you know, being a rotary, you're able to do quite a lot of damage with it. The actual radar itself doesn't have any animation right now. It's kind of just sat there doing nothing. That's fine. I'm sure they'll fix that. And also the model itself, I feel like needs a little bit of work. Like, it doesn't look kind of proper on the vehicle. There's a little bit of like weird angles on the kind of geometry of the vehicle. In order to fire the Stingers, you do have to stop, so you can't like fire them on the move like some other vehicles, but you will be able to do quite a lot of damage with them, and also, you know, track targets from miles away. So basically what you have is these Stingers will be good at dealing with planes which are coming in. It will have a little bit of an issue versus other vehicles, such as helicopters, because of the fact that they, you know, have a lot weaker track. But as stuff gets closer to you, you can obviously use the rat-a-tat of the 25mm, which will probably be good up to around about, you know, 2 kilometers. That's usually how this works. On a vehicle like this, like, you're not going to go through the IT-1, but if you go up against, as I said, like Abrams's or something like that, you go through the sides of them like butter, which would be really nice. Talking about the 25, you know, it's quite a good fire rate. You should be able to do a decent chunk of damage with it if you're able to actually pen it. It does have 250 rounds per magazine, so then you have to reload it. It takes a long time to reload, surprisingly. But, you know, if they bring in those new ammo boxes for AAA, or if they bring in, you know, new things for it, then it won't be too much of a problem. But you also have the Stingers, where getting 8 of them is huge to be able to deal with plane targets. I think overall, the fact that it has the radar that it does is good as well. One of the problems, I would say, is the radar's a little bit lower distance compared to others, but at the same time, one of the nice things about it is that, you know, people can't really tell that you're tracking them, so it just makes it a little bit easier to engage targets, which is pretty cool. It does get smokes as well, quite a nice, you know, addition to it, just so you can reposition on this Stormer chassis. And the only thing it really kind of it doesn't have access to is it doesn't have access to scouting, but that's because it can actually defend itself. You can see that the rotary is not moving yet. It will do eventually. They just haven't probably put it in yet. But I actually really like this vehicle. I think it'll be really good to use. You know, it's one of those which I feel like is probably going to get overlooked because of the fact it's just an AA. But Tenno Britain's really fun, and having an AA which kind of sits around it and, you know, put into that really fun lineup along with the 1031 makes me super happy, because, you know, that lineup has been expanding quite a lot recently. Like, it's been expanded in many different ways, and only positively. So I'm hoping people gravitate towards it instead of playing the high tier, which can be a little bit rough. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day. I'll see you next time.
I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem, Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.